Well, I haven't come out with my own book recently. I've learned that New Hampshire per capita is blessed with a lot of authors, or many really notable authors, people that have written some cool stuff, and I've had many on my program here as we try to promote the work in the arts, whether it's on the movie side or book side. And one of the my guests right now, I've not had the pleasure of meeting, and if I have, I'm going to ask him to please forgive me. I want to tell you about a pretty cool story here, and he's coming on in a moment. But Michael Moffat is a professor right here in NHTI's Concord's Community College, but he's written a biography, and it's already gotten a gold medal winner for biography from the Military Writers Society of America. The book, Fahim Speaks. And it's a book about Afghanistan, a warrior actor's odyssey from Afghanistan to Hollywood and back. And Tom Hanks has given the book a pretty cool review. Afghanistan is, from the Soviet former USSR occupation, we have so many troops there now. It's a very complicated place. And without any further ado, I'm going to ask Michael Moffat to come on and say hi to us on this Monday afternoon and tell us about his work. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Jack. Thanks so much for noticing our book and for having me on. Much appreciated.
No, it's an honor. Now, I want to get this straight because in some of your earlier emails about coming on, I'm pretty sure you served, and I want to, if I'm correct, I want to thank you for that service. Did you serve in the military as well?
Yeah, I sure did. I actually spent many, many years with the Marine Corps, both active duty and reserve. And my swan song with the Marine Corps was a year on active duty, which included several months in Afghanistan in 2010. I originally am an infantry officer, but I went back to finish up as a field historian with Marine Corps University. So I was in Helmand Province traveling around on my own, picking my spots, going to outpost, getting interviews and photography and photos of Marines just to document the effort there for the history division. And that's where I met Fahim Fazli, the Hollywood actor translator.
Well, before we get into the actor in the book, I do notice on the. Let me tell you how do you pronounce? Is it Fahim or is that incorrect pronunciation?
Fahim, it is.
Fahim. And Fahim Speaks, folks. Fahim. FahimSpeaks.com is the website for the book and the work, and you can see. I just scrolled down, and I've been on the road, so there's a great picture of you in your dress blues, I believe, with the gold medal book award. So it's a pretty cool shot for the Marine Corps. Tell us about the book.
Well, the book is something that Fahim wanted to do. I met him in Dalaram, Helmand Province, Afghanistan, and he is a speaker of 6 languages. It's all in the book, and was there as an interpreter. He had grew up in Kabul and made a harrowing escape to Pakistan as a youngster, and then eventually made it to America, waited in line, did it the right way, assimilated, learned English, did a lot of different jobs, and eventually was a Hollywood extra. His first film as an extra was Sylvester Stallone's Afghanistan movie, Rambo 3, I think it was.
I've seen it. I remember it.
Yeah, and anyway, he has had some really good success, very inspiring story of how he just made it to America, and then eventually became a Screen Actors Guild actor. And you've seen him, I'm sure, in Iron Man and Fox. And in fact, he's going to be in this movie coming out on Friday, Argo, with Ben Affleck.
That's right.
About the Iranian hostage crisis in Tehran, 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, he wanted to do a book, and his English, wasn't great. It's his 6th language, and I speak basically one language, but reasonably well, I think. And so we stayed in touch after we both returned from Afghanistan and drafted up an outline, and eventually found a publisher who was perfect for our project, Warriors Publishing Group. That's Dale Dye's company.
Mm-hmm.
Dale and his wife, Dr. Julia Dye, who was our editor. So we spent a year with getting plenty of help putting this together, and we've just been thrilled with the critical acclaim. And as you mentioned, appreciate the mention. I just came back from Dayton, Ohio, where the book won the first place gold medal award from the Military Writers Society of America for top biography. It was one of 6 nominees.
Well, congratulations on that. Again, Michael Moffat, our guest. Retired from the Marine Corps, and Fahim Speaks, FahimSpeaks.com, Barnes & Noble, Amazon. And you know, Mike, I know this because the last couple of years of my life, just a lot of people have written interesting books. Just getting a publisher to review and read it, let alone wanting to pick it up and go to all the work of editing and publishing it and the marketing of it. It's not a slam dunk, even if you have a great person like Fahim and a story. It's a lot of work.
That's so true, and I've learned about your book from having some recent back and forth with you. So I know that it's whatever your book is, you got to really go out and work it, which is why I really appreciate you finding a little bit of time for us today. But it's an adventure. It's exciting to have it finally published, as you know, and have it in hand, and to have some people really respond so well to it. It's immensely rewarding. And
there's always some intangibles, and as I look at your cover, Fahim, your story, and you, and I think you'd agree with me, the neat thing about marketing books today is, independent bookstores, there's still some in New Hampshire, they're great, and you got your Barnes and Nobles, but getting the book out to the world now is easier, but it's still a challenge. And what I think is neat about your book, and I have not, I really look forward to reading it and becoming a customer, but my point is it's got a neat story around it. And I think sometimes when there's a story around something, plus a good read, plus a good book, it kind of comes together as a combination of good forces to really get it out there, because a book like this looks like there's a lot of neat information in it. And I think, Mike, if you could address a little bit of the some of the parts of the book, because I think today people hear about Afghanistan, and with so much going on in our life, we're bombarded with information. People are stressed out. The economy's not doing great. We still have troops in harm's way in Afghanistan. We have a presidential election around the corner. A lot of people know that there are elements in the Middle East and Afghanistan on the extremist sides where they don't like our way of life. They don't want us there. They in fact, they probably hate us. And then there's many good people in these countries that just really depend on the United States and the Marines and the Army and the Air Force and all the branches supporting the operations for freedom to keep whatever parts of the country are free. And you look at the hot spots, and it's just, to some people, it's overwhelming. It's a mess. But talk about the culture, talk about the point of the book, and how do we unravel some of the stress and complication out of a place far away like Afghanistan, where you spent so much time, and obviously Fahim is from?
Well, it's an adventure story, it's a love story, it's a war story, it's a Hollywood story. There's a lot of components here, and it's a true story. I guess the theme, Jack, would be patriotism, perseverance. How this man was a immigrant refugee who made it to America. And what really struck me was, here's somebody that we've all been yearning to see, an immigrant refugee from an Islamic culture who's not afraid to stand up and say, I love America, and I will risk my life for my adopted country. I think that's all too rare. But, gosh, and stop me, I could talk forever. There's so many components. The Afghanistan piece, those who read the book will have a better understanding of the history of Afghanistan and the culture of Afghanistan and the challenges there, both when the communists were there and then subsequently when the Taliban came in. In Fahim's story, gosh, I mentioned the love story. There's a chapter called Love and Marriages with an S. He was in a couple of arranged marriages with Afghan brides that were disastrous, and that's, of course, in the book. And then he found true American love, which is what we really appreciate in this country. And that part of the book, I think, is very interesting. It's an uplifting story. It is a true story, but I think at the end of the book, people will just feel really good about this inspiring journey that this man had, and how he, despite all the terrible stuff he went through and witnessed, came to love America. And at age 43, he had a chance to go back as an interpreter. He was in a lot of movies. Charlie Wilson's War, for example. He was the cultural technical advisor, worked with Julia Roberts and Philip Seymour Hoffman and Tom Hanks, of course, who wrote a nice blurb for our cover. And Charlie Wilson himself, and Charlie Wilson told him, Fahim, you should go back to Afghanistan at some point and try to help out. And so he did. He qualified as an interpreter, wonderful linguist, went back to Afghanistan to great effect, spectacular success, bringing together Americans and Marines and Afghans, so much so that the Taliban especially hated him because he made people laugh. He was charismatic and made people like Americans, so the Taliban put a price on his head.
I was going to ask you, Mike, if his life has been threatened or in danger at times for his outspokenness.
Well, we've talked about that a little bit. He's fairly non-political, and he's very careful. Anytime you talk about Afghanistan or religion, it's potentially a volatile situation, and he's aware of that. But he's very honest. He loves America, and he, I don't think there's anything particularly inflammatory in the story unless someone really wants to, turn it into something like that. But yeah, he's very aware that there's a lot of people. The Taliban obviously hated him and hate him, and there are elements in this country too that don't love the idea of somebody like Fahim, having so much success, rags to riches, loving America, and going back at age 43. And he didn't need to go with the Marines. And again, this is in the book. Interpreting for a Marine Corps Infantry Battalion in Helmand Province is probably the most dangerous assignment an interpreter could have. And he asked for that. It was dangerous, and, he was shot at, and, on and on. And the Marines loved him and love him. Again, he became part of the Marine Corps tribe. And not that he's a Marine. You have to go to Parris Island for that. But he's,
let's hope that continues.
Yeah, the Marines love him, and he loves the Marines.
Mike Moffett, the author, Fahim Speaks, FahimSpeaks.com. Mike, what are you teaching now in college? Do you mind?
Well, I'm back at NHCI Concord, and after having been in Afghanistan, it's a very beautiful place to be back in New Hampshire.
Oh, I'm sure. It must be very nice to be. But what subject are you teaching?
Sports management. I've been involved with the sports management program here for
pretty cool,
for over 12 years in some fashion.
What was the impetus of before we go to a break? What was the seed for you to write this biography? What was the driving force? Was it did it just kind of happen like in a spontaneous way? Was it something that was gnawing at you? Was it some dots that connected? What was what brought the writing the book together?
Well, like you, Jack, and some other folks, I like to write. I like to put words together. I've written some things in the past, journal articles. I write a sports column for the Wears Times, and so I like to write. And when I met Fahim and found out that he wanted to do a book somehow, someday, and put his story into print, like I said, we kind of matched up pretty well together and complemented each other. And it was very exciting to interview him and learn about his story, and then work with him and others to put together his narrative, which is so consequential and inspiring.
Can we take a break? Do you mind sticking around for a few moments on the other side?
No, I'd be happy to.
Mike Moffett, the book Fahim Speaks on this Columbus Day. It's a pretty cool book. Might give you it might give you a better picture of Afghanistan and appreciating what we have here every day, and maybe we take for granted. Mike Moffett. Of the Concord area, teaching here in Concord, and back from his time in the service of the Marine Corps in Afghanistan, has written a book, Fahim Speaks, and FahimSpeaks.com is the main website for the book. A pretty cool story of this gentleman originally from Kabul and his time in America after chasing his own dream and then going back to help the Marines and the good forces or good folks of Afghanistan. Mike Moffett joining us a little bit longer in New Hampshire today. And, Mike, welcome back.
Good to be here. Thanks, Jack.
I guess one of the things I wanted to ask in the book is, are you well, first of all, people on the show know this, and you did remind me when I asked on your service that you did serve in the United States Marine Corps, and I appreciate that. My dad served in the Marines and was a Parris Island alumni as well. My wife's dad was a Marine in World War II, but my dad passed away when I was young. But the point is, I've always been impressed by the Marine Corps and the caliber of our men and women serving today with what we ask of them, and a pretty much all volunteer force still is an amazing story with how many spots we have around the world. And I guess as a Marine and someone who's now looked at this situation in Afghanistan from both perspectives, being back in the live free or die state and the quality of life here, all the things we take for granted, like just doing what we want and getting up in the morning and not worrying about someone, taking your life right away, maybe. Are you optimistic about our goals being met in Afghanistan, knowing what you know now? And Is Fahim optimistic? I mean, what do you see if you had to go out 5 years from now in Afghanistan and just that part of the world? What do you see?
Well, obviously, we don't want the Taliban to reassert control in Kabul and again turn that place into a safe haven for terrorist elements of the worst sort that obviously plotted the 9/11 attacks. That said, it's a vast country and it's got so many millions of people and it's so huge that it's just daunting for us to expect to continue to put so much wherewithal and blood and treasure into this landlocked Central Asian country. Am I optimistic? Well, I know that given the investment that the coalition has made, that the Taliban will never return to power. But at some point, we need to, and we're doing it now. The Marines are in the process of scaling back in Helmand Province. We need to turn things over to the indigenous forces, and it's going to be rough. The Taliban is not going to go away. They're entrenched. And it's going to be, I think, endless. I hate to say endless, but as far as we can see, kind of a civil war going on there. That said, as we face back, I think that we've given them enough tools and training so that the Taliban won't return to power. But it's not going to be a quick, happy ending like Grenada, for example, or Desert Storm.
Well, interesting stuff. And now, is Fahim in America now, or still in Afghanistan?
He is in America. In fact, I spoke with him today. I hadn't talked to him for several days, but he said he was in Texas. He is doing some filming for a movie that's going to come out next year called Fort Bliss, where he plays, believe it or not, a terrorist, which he almost always plays. So he just got back to California from Texas, where he did some filming for the Fort Bliss movie. And I guess I already put a plug in for Argo, which comes out on Friday, which I have not seen yet, but I know he has a part in that. So he's back in Southern California and doing the acting thing.
Cool. Now, when did your book come out, Mike?
The book came out in March, so we've been working at this for a few months, trying to raise awareness. And again, you already mentioned, I appreciate the award that we just received in Dayton, Ohio. I just was out there September 29th, where we got the gold medal award, which was wonderful. So we've been working at this for several months now. Well,
I wish you the best of luck, and it's certainly a good honor. The book looks terrific. Is it out in stores, or are you focusing on the Amazon, Barnes & Noble, which we'll plug.com to go buy the book, and all platforms and formats?
Yeah, Jack, it's primarily on demand through Amazon.com, and that's where one would have to go to get it.
It's changing everything, isn't it? When people in England or Australia can go on to Amazon.com and pull up Fahim Speaks, and it can be at their house tomorrow.
That's amazing technology.
Or in 2 minutes on their my wife's her tablet. Hey, listen, Mike, I wish you the best of luck, and let's have you back again soon. Anything develops, keep in touch with the show, and I'm sure our listeners will want to check it out, and hopefully you get some activity on the site from this for people wanting to read a good book, adventure, a little bit of Hollywood, a little bit of war, and thank you again for your service, and best of luck to you when you're teaching the sports management right here in Concord.
Jack, thanks so much. Much appreciated.